Welcome to CareTalk at Health 2019, our special interview series at the Health Innovation Conference in Las Vegas.
The Lollapalooza of healthcare conferences.
No kidding. I'm David Williams, President of Health Business Group, with my co-host, John Driscoll, CEO of CareCentrix. John, who do we have here today? Is it none other than Dekel Gelbman, the CEO of FDNA? How did I know that?
Well,
I was on the schedule.
Perhaps you read what's in front of you.
I read my briefing papers, yes. Welcome.
Dekel, talk to us a little bit about your background and how you got into healthcare.
Well, it's by chance. My background is I was a corporate and M&A attorney for about a decade.
Well, everyone would want to leave that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so I'm a recovered lawyer now. And I just met these two very interesting serial entrepreneur co-founders that really impressed me. And what impressed me more is that they sold the company to Facebook. So I said, well, I want to join in on that.
Yeah, no, we'd love to sell our company
to
Facebook.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. But here's the question, though. So why did you start a company that's named after a federal agency, FDA? What is, don't they get a little angry with you? I mean, what's the story?
I
thought it was the fire department.
What is Fire Department of North America.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
I've heard it all. So, FDNA actually stands for a very long acronym called Facial Dysmorphology Novel Analysis. That's the formal story. The informal story is that we wanted to name it facial DNA, but we couldn't get a trademark on that.
Got
it. We had to really wrap our heads around how do we find a good acronym. But really, our new technology that we've deployed in 2015 is deep learning, so we no longer use those terms, and this is like the legacy name that we use.
But what was the insight that drove the founding?
Well, we found out that, let's take it a little bit back.
Sure.
Going out of Facebook, selling Face.com to Facebook, they wanted to take facial analysis into healthcare. And so
your co-founders were really brilliant at facial analysis already.
Correct.
And they want to do something more socially meaningful than just to cash out to Facebook.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, they still want to cash out.
No, that too. Plus. Yeah.
But then we were trying to say, okay, where can we plug into something that, we're not reinventing the wheel, and we were amazed to learn that geneticists actually use their own facial recognition capabilities to diagnose patients clinically, and then they confirm that with a genetic test. So we thought, hey, we have a lot to add to that equation.
That's a super surprise to, I think, all of us. I mean, I don't think people know that.
Early days, I would schlep around with a backpack with a book this size called The Human Patterns, Recognizable Patterns of Human Morphology. And it literally, every page had photos of patients with specific syndromes saying, this is how a patient with Soto's syndrome looks like. This is how a patient with Williams syndrome looks like. So
Williams syndrome sounds serious.
That's
I have
scary.
To say. Yeah,
I don't know.
That could be deadly.
I've been accused of having
dying
that.
laughing.
Yeah. All right. Is there a Dekel syndrome?
There is none.
No. Okay, well, now there is. Go ahead.
It's a big honor to be named.
Nice.
To have a syndrome named after you.
Yeah, it's an honor, honestly. So you have that, and that's probably built into the way a lot of doctors who work in certain specialties practice normally. Was it hard to get people to believe it? That it worked?
Not the audience that we were serving, because they were believers and they were just waiting for this type of technology to come. Our first interaction with them formally was 2014 when we launched the product. There was a line probably 3 times around our booth because we were so fresh in this world of trying to sell reagents and hardware to geneticists. So we were accepted with open arms and embraced. A lot of skepticism, and on behalf of doctors who've been practicing for a long time, this AI company is going to come in and revolutionize us. But 5 years later, we have an adoption rate of 70% of geneticists. So.
And how many false positives? How frequently does the model fail, and how frequently does it succeed?
Well, the better way to rephrase this is what's the accuracy model for this model, right? Because we're not a diagnostic device, so we don't measure our accuracy in terms of sensitivity and specificity. Think about this as a Google algorithm search, right? But instead of the query of, where do I find the best restaurant in Las Vegas, you put in a photo, and the question is, what other patients with rare diseases look similar to this? And so the accuracy is measured in top 1, top 5, top 10 accuracy. What's basically hits the first page. Our top 10 accuracy for 300 diseases is above 90%.
Wow. What does he have? Because it's been bothering me. Is it Williams syndrome?
I got Driscoll syndrome from you pissing me off. Yeah. I think it's contagious.
I think we can come up with a Williams-Driscoll syndrome.
I'm sure there's something.
It usually comes up with
that's
something.
right.
Williams disruption.
I would hate to be in the middle of that.
There are always
put it
2
that
names
way.
at least.
So, I mean, but how often is this really, applicable? Because it sounds like kind of like a parlor game in this day and age. You just do a genetic test and just find out just from that. Why do I need to look at a picture on a face?
Magic always, I mean, the calling great new healthcare innovations magic is sort of obvious, David. I mean, that's sort of an obvious point. Just because it is innovative and new, and you haven't heard about it before, doesn't mean you should be skeptical.
I should not be.
Well, let's talk about the numbers, right? Because rare diseases account for almost 10% of the population. 50% of those patients are kids. About half these diseases, over 7,000 known diseases, have a very distinct facial appearance about them. So when you're talking about general population, you may not see how this is applicable. When you go into a clinic of a geneticist, all the patients are applicable. So geneticists use this every day.
So what happens though in terms of like the people that have it? Do you you've got something and you have to figure it out, or is it sometimes you just gee, I didn't know I had a genetic disorder?
No. You always know something because they call it the diagnostic odyssey, not for nothing. Parents usually drive this process. It's younger kids. They have recurring problems, multi-system failures, and it's a mystery, right?
Well,
no one knows.
And not everybody's qualified to actually handle this. So is there a possibility then once you push this out to use this as a way to auto-correct for the fact that a lot of folks who are not trained in these rare and specific genetic diseases to actually get people the referrals they need?
So that's the vision, right? Because right now we're serving our core audience, which is the people that already know that there's a problem, using us to try and hone in on the problem. At a future age, what we're trying to do is push this into primary care.
Big public health opportunity.
Absolutely. So we have to do it wisely, not cause anxiety, but be very, very cautious about how to communicate this and how to support it. We have to connect it on the back end to geneticists so that there's consultation going back and forth with primary care. But the long-term vision is to make this accessible worldwide to everyone.
Now what happens, clearly you start with those big books and you can essentially make those electronic and probably make it more systematic. Are you able to push the field forward as well?
Yes.
By developing new things? How does that work?
Yeah. So, the big books, they only hold this much information, and then you try to get other data repository, and there is none. So what we did is we built a platform, and we gave it away for free for healthcare providers. Now we have doctors from more than 2,000 hospitals around the world, 130 countries, and we've processed more than 200,000 patients to date. And that's become the source of information that's feeding this technology, this AI, and getting it better and better. And we had multiple publications where we've actually identified new disorders.
Okay. So you talked about how your co-founders didn't mind the idea of cashing out to Facebook. There's also a free model there. You're giving it away for free. Is this going to be like a Snapchat kind of a thing that they have to add on to Facebook? Or where does the business come in?
So I think, early on we wanted to do a really fast push into providers, but what we figured out is that there's a very substantial business model here with tying it to genetic testing. So the labs are trying to push genetic testing as a clinical utility, a diagnostic utility.
In a way to increase their margins.
Absolutely. Well,
just
increase efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Lower the prices. We're not trying to.
You're not increasing the prices, but the cost of new diagnostics for rare diseases are very high. And so if you can actually help make the process more efficient,
absolutely,
it would really help families.
So one of the partnerships that we've done recently with PerkinElmer Genomics, and in their earning call in end of July this year, they've already announced that with integrating our software, the turnaround time for diagnostics had reduced by 25%. So, that's already initial indications of efficiency.
That's good. Well, John, since I'm a gentleman, I'm going to let you get the last question in here.
I'm trying to
That's part of Williams syndrome.
You must
is being a gentleman.
Well, I think what I think is really exciting about what you're doing is you're taking data that already exists. All these huge databases, and then tying it back to other conditions. Is there in what you're doing technology that allows you to take other images to broaden it beyond rare and chronic diseases?
Yeah, so I think what we've started to do already is starting to kind of stack AI framework technologies into a holistic view of the patient. And it really emulates the work of a geneticist. The patient comes in, they employ all their senses in gathering information. So we're looking at voice analysis, video analysis, medical image analysis. We're looking at the clinical notes that the patient brings with them and trying to comprise a profile, phenotypic profile, if you will, of a patient. and see how all that can impact the interpretation of genetics.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, I wonder if we're going to get a discount on
a discount on zero.
Looking at your face and seeing what it'll tell us.
John, say it isn't so.
The first one is free.
So, anyway.
The first one's free, exactly. But I think...
so I want to say thank you to Dekel Gelbman, the CEO of FDNA. He's here with us.
One of our early victims of interviews here at Health.
We know what the Driscoll-Williams syndrome is, but this is part of our special Health 2019 interview series. You can watch the whole series on the YouTube playlist or listen wherever you like to listen to podcasts. But above all, remember to subscribe to CareTalk.
You have to subscribe, all of you, right now.
Right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey there, listeners. Want more CareTalk? There's more to be had in our other episodes, so be sure to look for those and subscribe to CareTalk on your favorite service.